Journalism has for long been a male-dominated profession. As a consequence, stories have been unbalanced and less representative. In recent years, though, we have seen an increasing number of women breaking the barriers, and projects like BBC's 50-50 are bringing more women voices into the newsroom. Hello everyone and welcome to Our Voices. I am Simen Shekoye and I'm joined by my co-hosts Orian Itangishaka and Amina Aliyu. Hello ladies.
Hello, hello.
So,
Journalism. We're talking about ourselves.
Our favorite subjects, right?
Right.
So VOA is part of this 50-50 project that helps to improve representation of women in the newsroom and in content creation. Would you say that this has improved the gender balance in the newsroom here?
Definitely. I mean, when you have projects like the 50-50 projects, you definitely see the impact of how much more women we see on our coverage, how much more women's faces you see on our website, how much more women's voices you hear on our reports and stories. And this happened in a time where we had women leadership. And so when women come into leadership, women are represented. And so I appreciated the 50-50 project because you could not see that when Mel was leading. I don't know if they could or just, you know, we just didn't see that
they
manifest.
Didn't maybe see it, that it
we
was
didn't see
a
that
thing.
manifest when there's male leadership. So when the 50-50 project came and similar projects, it is very key that women are going to be represented.
Did you feel the same?
No, I disagree. I think with the more interest that women have in journalism, more developing interest that women have in journalism, organically that would have happened irrespective of whether there's a 50-50 or not. However, the 50-50 project might have expedited, but I think we would have gotten there at some point.
So it's good that it's sped up, right?
Yeah, but the way I see it, I mean, even though women have the interest, there has to be also the opportunity for them. So for me, I think it has brought some change, and there has been, I mean, statistics also shows that there has been change, but also there are still programs within VOA that still have more male-dominated voice. So, I mean, women experts are there, women journalists or aspiring journalists are there. It's about giving them the opportunity. In Africa, though, only 22% of people seen, heard, or read about in media are women, according to the 2021 Global Media Monitoring Project report. Women's sources are especially less visible in issues like politics and economy. But from South African female journalists who lead nearly half of the country's major publications to female journalists in Somalia who are tackling difficult subjects despite danger from militant group Al-Shabaab, women journalists in sub-Saharan Africa continue to rise above challenges and to shape narratives. In line with the World Press Freedom Day, which will be celebrated on May 3rd of 2023, this week's episode of Our Voices will explore the missing perspectives of women in traditional and digital media and discuss ways that help newsroom access women experts have. We will also hear experiences of women journalists from the continent.
That's right. Well, journalism has always been a challenging profession, and for female journalists in Somalia, it can be even harder. Yet a group of women in Mogadishu are defying the odds and advancing journalism through their skills, running a female-only newsroom. In our special coverage of World Press Freedom Day, Mohammed Mahmoud filed this report from Mogadishu.
This is Bilan Media, an all-female journalist newsroom that has been operating for a year now. Bilan comes from the Somali word that means female. Despite the challenges that come with being a female journalist in Somalia, these women are making a difference, one story at a time. But running an all-female newsroom comes with its own set of challenges, including cultural attitudes that can be hard to change.
marka banaanka u baxdo ama dadku ay maqlaan waxay ka aaminayaan wax maaragtay dhaqanka doorinayo kaleete gabdho kaliya ka shaqeeya dhaqankay lid ku tahay wax dhaqanka soo horjeeda waaye ma loo baahnayn in gabdho kaliya ay meelmaan ka shaqeeyaan waa in la helo waa in rag lagu lamaaniyo waa in rag ay maamulaan macna waa wax iska dhaqan oo dadku iska aamineen.
The women at Bilan Media are not just reporting the news but also doing the complete production work. And it's inspiring other girls to believe in themselves that they can shoot, edit, and prepare news in the most technical parts of the journalism job.
Media Soomaalida inta badan waxa gabdhuhu ay qabtaan wararka kaliya inay akhriyaan laakiin tan waxay tusaale u noqotay in gabdhaha shaqo dhameystiran ay qaban karaan taasna waxay noqotay mid gabdhihii aan ku dhiirigelinayno in aan ka soo bixi karno shaqadan ragga ay qabtaan waxna ay duuban karaan waxay deed gareysan karaan dhammaan shaqada miidiyahana ay qabsan karaan.
And it's not just about breaking barriers, it's also about telling stories that matter. Naima Hassan is one of the few Mogadishu residents who got interviewed for an upcoming news item by the Bilan media crew, and she is impressed.
I'm very happy that there is this female-led reporting team working in Somalia that are focusing on issues that face the Somali women, the Somali female population, and it really gives us motivation as other female voices in Somalia to sort of try and talk about our experiences and our the issues that we face.
These female journalists cover different topics that shape the narratives in the building of their country, including health, women empowerment, agriculture, and other social issues. Despite the challenges, the women at Bilan Media are making their mark in the world of journalism, and they are doing it with resilience, determination, and a passion for telling stories that matter.
As we celebrate World Press Freedom Day, Somalia is celebrating the remarkable achievements of Mogadishu's only all-female newsroom, who have demonstrated the immense courage in the face of adversity. These women are the backbone of the society who have given voice to the marginalized and ignored communities through their exceptional reporting. Mohammed Mahmoud for VOA News, Mogadishu.
To have you here in our studio.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we just watched how Somali journalists, they created a platform where they can be heard, where they can be seen, and where they can discuss women issues. How important is that? Why is it important?
I think that's very important as women in Africa, because I really believe that women as a whole in Africa really struggle to still find their voice in the African society. I'm talking from my own personal experience, from the time that I have spent in Africa during the past 4 years as working as a journalist in Africa and stuff. So I found that women really struggled, like I said, in the Malian society, for instance. In the journalism field, women really struggle to find a voice. What do I mean by that? It's that journalism, a woman journalist, is kind of seen negatively because women appear on TV, for instance. So in Mali, they have this idea of women
being behind the scene.
Exactly. Being behind the scene and not really exposing themselves too much. So there's this stereotype about women appearing on TV in Mali, for instance, because they're seen as, you know, easy women, you know, excuse me for my French.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And when women...
That's a cultural barrier and the traditional barrier of how women are seen and how the women are raised to be seen.
You would think with how the world takes on, what's her name? Mali. What's her name? Umu Sangari.
Yeah.
You would think with the way that the world takes on Umu Sangari that Malians would be happy to have their women out there.
Well, Umu Sangari, she went through it. She went through a lot
before
getting to that legend part, because she was accused of a lot of things. You know, as being a singer, as collaborating with American artists.
So it doesn't come easy. So being able to beat those barriers and, you know, come to a point where they can be seen.
It definitely doesn't come easy. I was, quote unquote, lucky to be married right when I started my journalistic journey in Mali. Because a lot of people were telling me that, oh, you're lucky, you just got married, because usually women anchors do not get to get married easy in Mali. So that's how the society perceives women. And it's a reality too, because when you appear on TV and, you know, you're like a pretty girl and stuff, you know, the rich guys
would always
try to get in touch with you.
So in that effect, you've been a reporter on the ground in Mali for years?
I haven't been a reporter. I've been a TV anchor. So
Okay.
I used to appear on TV daily the entire week.
And we've seen that in so many sectors, generally in Africa, there has been improvements in female representation.
There has been more, I have to admit, more and more women are going on TV now, whether it's web TVs or actual channels and stuff. But this perception of women
It's still there.
is still
So
there.
this
Yeah.
perception, what role does it play at getting to the top? When you look at the hierarchy of the way that the media industry is built, what role does this perception play in getting to the top?
It plays a lot. It plays a lot because when women usually have higher places in the media in Mali, there is this, unspoken vision or words that they have done something fishy to get to that point, and that's not necessarily the truth, actually.
Well,
So their competence
Their
is
effort
not
is not
given back to
acknowledged.
them in that sense.
Well, what about you looking at the media? You've mentioned the media. When you're looking at the landscape of media now, we're talking about social media, we're talking about online, visuals.
Yeah.
Do you see that as an opportunity for women to be more in the field? Because we are seeing that, more and more women need to be in the field in order for any impact to happen. So do you see that social media and the visual part of media advancing an opportunity for women?
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen a lot of girls now, younger girls, creating their own platform on Facebook, on all sorts of social media. They're not journalists they didn't go to journalism school, but they're actually creating platform for themselves to kind of express themselves
Have a voice.
and get in touch
Political
with other girls
commentators,
in the
yeah.
society. So
Did that come with a backlash, by the way?
It does. A lot of those girls get bashed in the Malian society, and
But still they persevere.
yeah, they
Because
do.
that's just where the world is going.
They do, yeah. Social media has kind of formed people now to kind of be immune to certain things.
Okay.
So that's
Build
a
a
good,
thick skin.
Exactly. So
Right.
they keep going, but still there's this reality of, putting down women in the media. Yeah.
Do you think also like there are challenges that discourage women in the newsroom where they will be, harassed or asked for sexual favors in order to be able even to report
Right, once-
some important issues?
Right,
Yeah,
especially when more
absolutely.
and more are coming in.
Absolutely. Here in America, women are kind of protected in that sense where when you're harassed, there's somewhere that you can go to complain to. But you don't always have that in Africa, at least in the society that I was in. When you get harassed by the men actually that are coming after you, who are you going to go complain to?
Right.
'Cause
The
you're
man is at the top.
Exactly. So that's a big issue. There's no protection put into place for women harassed in that field. So
Right.
I feel as though women
More.
should really, fight toward that, the protection side of the media for them.
Thank you so much, Ms. Torre. We will continue the conversation. So it's now time for a break. We want to remind you of our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our social media handle is VOA Africa. Use the hashtag @VOA Our Voices. We are also on WhatsApp, and our number is US country code +1 202 503 9025. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world. and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Welcome back. You're watching Our Voices. While women continue to be marginalized in newsrooms in South Africa, women are reclaiming their voices in the media. According to a Christian Science monitor, female journalists have risen through the ranks to take leadership in many of the country's most important news outlets. So we talked to women in South Africa on whether they feel represented in the media. This is what they had to say. We have Mulongo Nelengwe, Busi Ngwenya, and Dinio Lugabe, who told us this in our Your Voice segment.
Women are not being covered as much. I think it's a matter of they've always been covered with negative issues, like we talk about gender-based violence, but in things such as women empowerment, it's being pushed, but we don't see women in the forefront of that.
I think South Africa is being fair to women. We are seeing them on their dramas, they are commenting, they are everywhere, they are reading news. Actually, I can say I see women more than men on TV. So I can say high five to South Africa.
Recently, I'd like to say they're trying, but yeah, because recently on the news, I saw something about them giving females like leave when they go on their menstrual cycle. So things like that, I think, is better for female viewers. So yes, I think we could use more of that in our South African media. Yeah.
We thank those women in South Africa for sharing their opinions. Here in the studio, we have Komba Toure, a former employee with VOA. We are so happy that you are back with us. Let's continue the conversation. So you told us journalists have a lot of women journalists have a lot of issues, especially to even go up higher in the hierarchy, but also even to join the profession. So what can be done to change that narrative, to bring more women into the field?
Actually, like I was saying, protecting women in the first place, you know, showing society, different societies, that women have the right to protection in every field, whether it's journalism, in their marriages, like in every field.
Right.
And also still give them a voice, give them a platform, you know, promote the non-discrimination of media, women in media.
Correct.
So the biggest mistake is that the population is sometimes not educated on that sense.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's see how our own station, Voice of America, is doing on that line. Maria Diallo, a senior reporter covering national and world affairs for Voice of America, and now VOA correspondent based in Nairobi, Kenya, is joining us via Skype. Hello, Mariam. Thank you so much for coming on and finding this time to join us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you ladies.
So Mariama, my first question for you is, especially in terms of covering issues like politics or economics, hard topics that usually dominate the newsroom, we don't see more women, doing that. So how difficult is it for women, to be in that level of reporting? What are the challenges for them that they face in the newsroom?
Well, I think for me, certainly, I think it hasn't actually been a huge issue because I have to say that being a general assignment reporter for such a long time, I have actually been just being able to cover just about anything, whether it's politics, whether it's econ, health, sports, you name it. So I've been able to do that. But the reason why actually that I have to say, for example, the econ topics or the politics topics have not really been a big issue is that for my background, at least, when I was in university, I actually thought I would become an economist. So my first year at the University Cheikh Anta Diop in Senegal was at the School of Economics. So I've always kind of been drawn to doing econ stories, and when I come in and I propose or somebody assigns a story, it's been fine. And so just to be balanced, I think for me certainly it hasn't been a big issue, but I think the other. I don't find it being an issue when you come to your editors and you say, I want to cover, for example, politics today, or I want to do econ tomorrow. I think what it is that even if they say no the first time, you can keep asking, and then you prove it. You come in and say, give me a chance, give me a story, and then I'm going to research it to death. I'm going to use all the components that you use when you're doing real journalism by balancing it, by researching it to death, and making sure the package is a full package. And usually when you come to them, I think some will say yes. Of course, there are a lot of them who would say no, but I think it could work sometimes.
Maria, my question for you is, you just moved up to a leadership level, the first African woman to be an African correspondent to VOA. What can you tell us about that in your experience?
Well, thank you so much for, thank you. You're actually making me kind of being shy or blushing about it. But I think, listen, I've been in journalism since I was 14. I started, my dad was a reporter, and I have to say that helped a lot because I used to go with him in the station and following him around. When I did my first show, it was when I was 14, I was put with another gentleman in his show, and I participated. And then, and then I went from there. I think from there, I worked in Senegal for a while. I went to college in Senegal, first or second year, and then I moved to the U.S. And so in the U.S., I continued my studies, graduated, in broadcast journalism with computer science as a minor. And I've been working my way up. It didn't just come just like that. I wish it happened 10 years ago, because then I would have been younger, I would have more energy, and I would be, less scared and less settled to do some of the stuff, because moving to another country, people might think it's also just this glamorous work, but I gotta tell you, a foreign correspondent work is not glamorous. I mean, it's just been nonstop. I've been here for, a month? I think I had 1 day off, because as soon as I came, there were protests in Kenya, and now, as you all know, with the Sudanese crisis. So it's nonstop. And those are the main stories, but there are so many, like a million different other things that are happening in the African continent. So that's what it is.
Well, actually, Mariama, we have another guest joining us. Tomu Okewale Shonea. I hope that I've said your name right. She's the co-founder of the Women Radio 97.7, Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. Tomu, it's nice to have you here with us today. I hope that you can hear us.
Thank you very much. I can hear you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, To, is it difficult or is it easy to have a media or a media platform that is solely dedicated to women?
So it's Women Radio 91.
We are having.
Okay, so it's Women Radio 91.7. My name is Tomu Okewarishonai. I wouldn't say it's difficult. Having a radio station anywhere in the world is difficult. So, you know, I went through the same process that others will go through, and it took quite a number of years to get the license, and we're here. So it's a man's world, there's no doubt about that, but I don't think because it's women-centered, that is why it is difficult. Running any business in Nigeria, running business in Africa can be challenging. And we're here 7 years down the line. Women Radio is here amplifying the voices of Nigeria.
Now, what about engaging women? I mean, I've also worked in the business, the radio business, for over 15, 20 years. And one of the hardest things is to get women to engage you based on, maybe because of culture, religion. It's very difficult to have women calling in and voice their opinion. I mean, we've heard in Mali that even just being in front of the screen means that you're being maybe just loose or too forward, or you're daring. So how is it in terms of trying to gain women's involvement and participation in the programs? What are some of the tips probably that you're using?
So generally, women from the community, local communities, because of language barriers, it could be hard for them to engage. But because we are women-centered, we are deliberate, we are intentional, we speak to them in their languages, we find what is of interest to them, we go into their communities, we talk to focal persons in the communities, so we gain their trust. And we have women of diverse backgrounds, diverse faith in Nigeria. I'm coming on radio talking about violence. You would never have heard women talk about violence in the past, especially women in the grassroots. They come over because they know it's a safe space. Women Radio is a safe space for them. So they talk to us because we understand what they want, we understand their needs.
Thank you.
And they know that we want to amplify
Thank you
their
so
voices.
much, Shunaya. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. And thank you for all our guests, including Kumba, who is here in the studio with us. That's our show for today. We'll see you again next week with another exciting program. Be sure to continue the conversation on our social media platforms. And